Welcome to the Dead Bedroom Revival Podcast. My name is Corey, your host, and I'm very excited to be making this episode. I went down a rabbit hole and I go through these ones. I'm listening to something, and then all of a sudden, 2 hours later, I'm just going crazy about a specific topic. And this time around, I was listening to a neuroscientist talking about desire and how desire works. And it led me. I was there because I was thinking about what are the things that cause a woman to actually get into the point where she's feeling desire. I mean, if you think about it, the first time when you started dating and you're going out, it was very easy to get into the desire stage, and then for you guys to have amazing sex and connect in an amazing way. Now that you're married, and so many things have happened, and you either got children, you've bought a house, and you're sort of career, you're following your paths or careers, or even if she's a housewife, and there's still so many things that within society and how it's constructed that it still does mess up with the marriage, and then you get into this sexless relationship. So I was wondering, what is it that can cause desire, and what is the part of the brain that is responsible for desire, or at least. So I went down the rabbit hole of dopamine and how dopamine works within the brain. And basically, what dopamine is a reward chemical within the brain that when you do a certain activity that supports survival, your brain releases this feel good chemical so that it can cause you to do that action again. So, and that action is mainly to do with survival. So, things like eating fatty foods, for instance, because you'd eat fatty foods in order to store fat. So, you'd eat not fatty foods, but foods that make you put on fat. So, basically, because once upon a time we got hunter gatherers, and it would be easier to get food during the summer, and then on the winter times you wouldn't be able to get food. So you would eat up a lot during the summer, get fat, and then when there's less food in the winter, you would use that fat over the winter periods in order for you to survive. So therefore, that's why your brain would do that, to sort of release these chemicals. It would release that chemical if you have an orgasm. It just anything that is to do with survival, it will reward you with that. So I was down the rabbit hole, and I was just really wondering, and I was actually realizing that the dopamine stuff is quite intrinsic to everything that we do. So when you watch TV and YouTube and go on Xbox and all these things, you're triggering dopamine all the time. And I was sort of messing around with that sort of information, and then I came across this guy who was talking about then how that is related to desire. So I was like, yes, this is what I'm looking for. And then he started talking about what is called the nucleus ambus, and he was talking about how arousal is a dual process, that when you are feeling arousal, there is a part within that your brain which is called this ambus, nucleus ambus, and because it's a dual process, there's a part of it that is saying yes, which is the front side of that nucleus ambus. So I'm just going to call it the part of your brain that I'm talking about for arousal. And there is the back side of the brain, and what it means is that while you are experiencing, when you get into a certain environment, that environment will stimulate a arousal response. But because of the environment, you would either say yes, your front is triggered, or your back is also triggered and can say no. And depending on the situation, you pick one of the two. So it's almost like that devil or little angel over the shoulder. It's one of those scenarios that you come into this scenario on this environment, and then based on the environment, you make a choice. And I've been trying to think of an analogy of this, but there's one that I came across, and I'm going to really try and break this down with this analogy. If it doesn't work out, guys, I'm going to try a different one. So we'll see how we get on with this. But I think the best way to explain this is like sleep. So, for instance, if you came to a place and you were really, really tired, and it's for example, it's a hostel. You're you're on some sort of holiday, and the only place you can sleep is a hostel. So you're gonna have to be. It's a shared room. There's certain people there, and you're very tired. But before you know it, you meet the people. They're relatively okay people, and you relatively feel safe. The chances of you sleeping, even though your back is saying, no, I don't trust these people, I feel a little bit of fear, I don't really want to sleep. If a large part of your front says, okay, I really trust them, they seem okay, they haven't given me any reason to be fearful, you're most likely to go and sleep, even though you've been told. So there's that sort of jewel that's happening within your brain, like how do you feel? And that's the environment. And then keeping in with that sleeping environment, if you walked into a specific, you're tired again, but then this time you walked into this amazing hotel, the temperature of the room is perfect, the temperature of the bed and the sheets are perfect, it's dark, it's got silence, complete silence. You lay down on that bed, your front of your brain will be saying, yes, this is exactly what we need. And even if the back of your brain, for whatever reason, decided, oh no, we don't really want this, you would be so relaxed and so decided that it doesn't make a difference. And the key thing is that you're feeling safe and relaxed, that you're completely safe, you feel relaxed. It doesn't matter what the back of your brain says. It doesn't. The fact that you're all in, and this is where again you got the ability to turn off the back of your brain and be able to only have the front of the brain turned on. And then the last but not least, you go. There's this place in Oxford. I'm in England right now. They've turned a prison into a hotel, and so you already know that there's people that have died in that prison, and if you've watched any sort of ghost stories and stuff like that, it would sort of give you a little bit of the chills. So imagine going to a place where somebody tells you that it's haunted. Again, you're feeling tired, but as soon as you walk in and you hear sounds and it gets dark, all of a sudden, even though you know that the maybe ghosts don't exist, the back of your brain would be screaming like, oh no, we don't want to be here, because you'd be so alert on whatever noise that happens. And you're probably wondering, how does this relate to my sexless relationship? The key here is getting the brain to be able to switch off the back of that nucleus ambus, and then being able to turn on the front of the nucleus ambus. And when you turn on the front, this is where curiosity comes into play. And the best way I actually explained recently to my friend is that you imagine if you had rats in your house, and when you're walking and then there's activity happening in your house, there is this level of fear. The lights are on, there's people walking around. The moment you go to bed, you turn off the lights, it's almost like that switch. The moment you turn off the lights, the back was active because they're scared. All of a sudden, that back turns off, and then the front turns on, and then they're now out exploring to see if they can get some food. And that's a similar thing, that the environment has to change within your house. And when you change that environment, it creates that safety, comfort. And when you create those feelings, then she's more likely to be wanting to explore sexually, and she's more likely to be wanting to be aroused. And again, when I say feeling safe, and this is something that's to do with getting rid of stuff like anxiety, stress. All those things are the ones, common factors that would cause them not to feel aroused and won't want to explore sexually. And this could be because of the fact that there's kids involved, there's the mortgage, there is work, there's all these factors that are within the woman that she's struggling with. And majority of the time, the mistake that we make as men is we try and fix it. So we see her in distress, we then go and then we try and take on all this stress. So if she says, oh, I'm tired because I need to do the dishes, I need to do this, the housework, I need to do the clothes washing and the laundry and all these things, we say, okay, I'll take on all of these things so I can alleviate your stress. But usually that's the worst way to go. Yes, by all means, you need to help around the house, but she's a big girl. She needs to learn how to handle her own stress. She needs to learn how to be able to deal with anxiety. And usually most people don't go through the process or get taught how to handle these things. And over a period of time, it just compounds over them. And we don't really know why our relationships are in the state they are in. It's just because we've never really been taught how to deal with stress, or especially in some of the sexless relationship couples. That's what I've seen, that the common factor is anxiety and stress that affects, because she doesn't know how to handle it, so she expects you to handle her stress, but then she has to be able to start handling her own stress, because when she gets the ability and the tools to handle her stress, it means that she can find ways of really getting herself to that point of feeling safe, feeling no fear, and therefore she'll be now keen to explore, at least open to exploring more of your relationship. So hopefully this is massively helpful. If you want to learn the tools of how you can teach her to have the tools to alleviate stress and anxiety, go to www.deadbedroomrevival.com and you'll be able to go there. You can get some free guides, also get a Facebook group link where you'll be able to be taught different skills on how to get rid of stress and anxiety within your relationship. So I'm really excited to have made this episode. Thank you very much. Take care.